Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
The real reason the Blue Jays signed Kazuma Okamoto just got revealed, and this is way better than anyone expected. New details are dropping by the hour, and when you see the contract numbers and understand what the front office is actually planning here, it all makes perfect sense. We've got insight on what moves could be coming next, why this signing opens up more possibilities than it closes, and the strategic genius behind getting this deal done at the price they paid. Stay with me because the information coming out since the signing a few hours ago changes everything we thought we knew about Toronto's plans. The numbers are out, and they're legitimately shocking. John Heyman reported 4 years, $60 million with a $5 million signing bonus and no opt-outs. That last part is crucial. Heading into this offseason, projections had Munetaka Murakami potentially getting a $100 million deal. MLB trade rumors and other outlets were throwing around figures like 4 years and $78 million for Okamoto. The Blue Jays got an absolute steal here, $15 million per year for someone with Okamoto's ceiling and no ability to opt out after 1 or 2 good seasons. That's completely different from what we saw with other Japanese players who got opt-out clauses built into their contracts. Okamoto is locked in, and given the parameters of this deal, it's genuinely difficult to see how this becomes a bad contract. When you dig into why the Jays targeted him specifically, it becomes even clearer. Look at his StatCast equivalent numbers from his NPB season. His chase percentage, contact percentage, and isolated power are off the charts. For anyone not familiar with advanced metrics, the further right and darker red you see on these charts, the better the performance. Okamoto's numbers are elite across the board. He's entering his age 29 season, which means the Blue Jays have him locked up from 29 to 33, his absolute prime years. That's exactly the window you want when you're signing a player to a deal like this. Ben Nicholson-Smith tweeted something really important after the signing was announced. MLB teams believe Okamoto has a higher floor than Murakami. Murakami offers tons of upside, but there are legitimate questions about his glove and strikeout percentage. Anyone who watched Murakami closely knew he had some flaws in his game. Okamoto's contact ability is what makes him appealing, plus he has legitimate power. Defensively, word is that he's an above-average first baseman and can play some third base and outfield as well. Another report clarified that Okamoto spent most of his career playing first and third, but he also has 164 games of outfield experience. That's more than a full MLB season worth of reps out there. Where he fits with the Blue Jays will depend on what else the team does and where Okamoto feels most comfortable in spring training. But as of right now, multiple options exist, and that's exactly why they signed him. They created an abundance of flexibility with this move. Could they play him in left field? It's possible. Do they want to get Kyle Tucker, put him in right, and get creative with Anthony Santander at DH while figuring out where George Springer fits? That's another scenario. If they land Tucker or potentially Bo Bichette, they'll probably need to make a corresponding trade to clear roster space. Your outfield is set with Dalton Varsho in center. Right field is covered with Santander and Springer. If Tucker comes in, you need to find room for Addison Barger too. The beauty of this signing is that Okamoto can play multiple positions. It's not like he's played 10 games in the outfield and they're hoping he can adjust. He has 164 games of experience out there. Reports say he's a defensive wizard at first base, at least by NPB standards. Does that translate perfectly to third or the outfield? Not directly, but the tools are there. The crucial detail is they went with the guy who has the higher floor, meaning less risk, at the price they paid. This is an absolute robbery. The more details that emerge, the better this deal looks. You can structure a lineup now that includes Tucker if they manage to pull that off. Springer at DH, Tucker in right, Vlad at first, Barger at third, Okamoto in left, Varsho in center, and your normal infield and catcher. That configuration leaves Santander as a pinch hitter and part-time DH, which might seem odd given his contract, but the front office isn't going to make decisions based solely on last year's signings. Santander could have a huge year or he could get hurt again. Nobody knows. The point is they have options now, real flexibility to build different lineup combinations depending on matchups and performance. One report mentioned that Okamoto could play third in the majors, but multiple scouts agree he's better suited for first base. Clearly, the Blue Jays don't completely agree with that assessment because there's no way he's the everyday first baseman with Vladimir Guerrero on the roster. He'll probably play first occasionally when Vlad needs rest, similar to what they did with Ty France after the trade deadline last year. But there are too many DH/first base types on this roster already. Springer isn't playing first but needs DH at bats. Santander isn't playing first but needs DH at bats. Danny Jansen needs DH days. There are a lot of moving pieces to manage. What's certain is that with one more significant move, they can unlock tremendous versatility in this offense. The real reason they signed Okamoto is exactly that versatility, and they got him on an absolute bargain contract. Players coming from Japan haven't commanded as much money on the open market as people expected. There was talk about Murakami getting $100 million or more. Tatsuya Uemura was supposed to get a huge deal. None of that materialized. The Blue Jays took advantage of a market inefficiency and landed a guy who makes perfect sense for their roster construction. Now they can continue working the market from a position of strength. They got a legitimate steal with Okamoto. The more reports that drop, the clearer it becomes that this team is building another dominant lineup. With or without Bichette, with or without Tucker, they're creating something versatile and dangerous. Addison Barger can play multiple positions. Ernie Clement moves around the diamond. Nathan Lukes and Davis Schneider provide depth on top of your core guys. One more bat would make this offseason truly elite. Right now, it's probably a B+ to an A-. They landed Dylan Cease, which was huge. They got Okamoto at a discount. That should probably be an A already, but I'm getting greedy here. One more impact bat and one more bullpen arm would push this into A++ territory. If they can pull that off, this roster is legitimately scary for opposing pitching staffs to face over a 162-game season. The contract details keep getting better the more you examine them. No opt-outs means stability. The AAV is manageable enough that it doesn't block other moves. The length covers his prime without extending into serious decline years. His skill set, elite contact rates, solid power, defensive versatility translates well to MLB. The floor is high because guys who make that much contact and walk at solid rates don't typically bust completely. The ceiling is legitimately star level if his power plays up against MLB pitching. This wasn't a desperation move or a reach. This was calculated, strategic roster building at a price point that preserves future flexibility. That's what good front offices do. They identify market inefficiencies and exploit them. They don't overpay for names. They find value and fit. And that's exactly what happened here. The Blue Jays identified a player whose skill set matched what they needed, whose defensive versatility solved multiple roster construction problems, and whose price fit within their budget while leaving room for additional moves. Everything about this signing makes more sense the longer you look at it. The master plan behind bringing in Okamoto is becoming clear. They're creating roster flexibility that keeps the door open for a Kyle Tucker or Bo Bichette addition. They're spreading financial commitments across multiple quality players rather than overpaying for one or two stars. They're building depth and versatility that allows them to matchup hunt and optimize lineups throughout a long season. This is smart baseball operations, and it's exactly what fans should want to see from their front office. Take care of business with one or two more additions, and this offseason becomes genuinely special.